do you have that? I genuinely want to know, do you have that? I don't think we've
That's a good
discussed that.
question. Yes and no. I feel like, I mean, you've
Okay.
told me like your plans for your future, some of them at least, and like what you're really hoping to do and the impact you hope to have on the anime community, and I love that. I love that for you. That's like a very you thing, and I totally believe in that, and I think it's really really cool. I feel a little differently, and I think that going back to this conversation of like I just felt like, especially my early content creation, I gave so much of myself to the content
Hmm.
creation that I do have a goal, and my goal is to not do that again. And my goal is to
Yeah.
I think I feel like you have a much more like you really have these like beautiful dream of bringing people together and everything. My goals have shifted and become a little bit more selfish. Like I just don't, I want to be my own person, and I want to be fun and
Hmm.
interesting, and I want to be the kind of person that people like remember, like when I'm dead. I want people to be like, she was cool, she was an amazing friend, she was there for us, we had really good fun with her, and
Hmm.
I could always count on her for like a good time. And I think that my path to that in content creation is just by doing stuff that I find like endlessly fascinating. Like I'm
Hmm.
this podcast experience with you is so fun to me. It's like something new. I've never done it before, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And like that, I want to just have that experience. And this like writing these video essays for me have been just like such an untangling of like the chaotic nest that lives in my brain of like there's so many parts
Hmm.
that go into it. There's the editing, there's we do like tour vlogs. We just got back from a vacation where we shot a mini horror video that yeah, that
That's
we're gonna like
awesome.
fit into the video essay to help illustrate a point. And like it's just like stuff like that that I really care
You
about.
get to be
Yeah, yeah.
creative.
I want to be
Yeah.
creative. I want to learn how to do new stuff. I want to have those experiences, and I want to really feel like I can speak about my work like proudly and be like, yeah, like I'm doing this because it's helping me learn X, Y, and Z, and not just because I feel like I have to put a video out every week.
So this is very fascinating, right? Like
Mm,
hearing this from you, because if you go back to what you had said earlier about being
mm,
burnt out about just making
mm-hmm,
recipes, it sounds like where I was, because I actually don't care to use recipes that
mm,
often, because it's not, to me it's not as creatively
yeah,
fulfilling. I know they exist for a reason, and it's like maybe you're just starting, like we had to use them in
yeah, yeah,
culinary
yeah,
school, like the whole 9 years. I understand they exist. I have cookbooks. You have a
yeah,
cookbook coming out, which we'll talk about that
yeah,
creation side in a minute. But like when I was just doing recipes, I was like, oh man, I really want to change
mm,
this to make it more
yeah,
my taste. But I know that that's not what people are
mm,
coming here for. They're coming for like the one to
yeah,
one
yeah,
food wars recreation, whatever. Whereas now I can have a little more
mm,
freedom with stuff, right? It's not really like I'm on this like rail.
yeah,
It's like, nope, the path can go wherever it wants, but the destination
yeah.
is the same. And so, like, I have an All Might video that I'm going to do, which I'm terrified to do. It's going to be like 7,700 calories worth of food
Oh
because he's a giant human
no.
being. But right. But like you get creative. You're like, okay, how do I make it to where it's not just Japanese
Yeah,
food? Because yes, he's
yeah,
in Japan, right? He also studied in the United States for like 4 or 5
yeah,
years. All of his attacks are different states, like, Delaware smash or whatever.
yeah,
Okay, cool. We're going to do the state food of Delaware.
yeah. That's
That's going to be one of the
cool.
meals. We're going to do the Michigan, I think he does like Detroit
Yeah.
smash. We're going to do a Detroit pizza. Like you can get very creative. And that started unlocking my brain.
Mm,
I'm like, oh, okay, what if we do this? Okay, we're gonna do
yeah.
this instead. I gotta go here. I went to a parkour gym to be a edge runner for a
That's
cyberpunk
awesome.
video. Like I would have
Yeah.
never done that if I'm just gonna like make
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
food,
yeah, yeah.
right? And that's where I think you are
Mm-hmm.
right now. Where you're like, oh, I get to be
Mm-hmm.
creative in ways that I haven't
Yeah.
been before. Because you are creating content, you're a content
Mm.
creator, right? Not a content
Mm-hmm.
regurgitator. So they're very
Mm.
fine lines, and you could be a news studio, you can whatever, you're just telling the news, that's great. But I think that as creators we need to embrace the creator
Mm-hmm.
side, right? That's why like you find some channels that feel the same as
Mm-hmm.
other
Yeah.
channels, and then you come across a channel like, oh, I've never
Yeah,
seen
yeah.
this
Totally
before.
unique.
right? And that's what
Mm.
I want to be, which is also very difficult for the like the
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah, yeah.
algorithm,
You
which in
always
reality it's like
bump up on that.
85 different
Yeah.
algorithms.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to me it's like I'm doing videos that are kind of fitness related but also very
Yeah.
food related, and I don't think they can exist one without the
Yeah.
other,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But now I'm just giving a reason for my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
recipes. I need to eat like
Yeah.
Ichigo. So
So
there's a
this is what
reason for me to make
yeah.
this video versus the hey, I'm making Orehime's like ramen with
Yeah,
wasabi and
yeah, yeah.
honey. You're like, well, why?
For what
Like,
purpose?
what's
Yeah.
the point? It's like, well, because maybe she feeds it to
Yeah,
Ichigo one
yeah.
day, whatever. It just gives you more creative
Yeah.
freedom. Is that kind of how you
Oh,
feel right
I
now
think
with all of your stuff?
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just the having fun with it and the experimenting with it and kind of, I have invested so much time and effort and energy into this like kind of creation. So being able to take it and do something fun with it and enjoy it a little bit more has been really, really cool. And it has helped me really. It's funny, I think about this all the time that like when you're a kid, you have certain hobbies and certain stuff that you really enjoy reading about or
Hmm.
learning about. And you kind of like lose sense of that when you become an adult and like move into working and stuff. And so I'm just all about like, I have loved anime ever since I was a kid. And I just want to take the time now to explore that and have fun with it and let it take me on a
Hmm.
journey and who knows where we're going. But I think it's interesting because like that's sort of my immediate goal. I don't really have such a long-term goal right now, but I also think that that is the product of my situation. Like you're able to do content creation full time and I am not. I still
Hmm.
have a full-time day job that preoccupies most of my waking hours. So everything that I do,
Yep.
including making this cookbook, making these video essays, making content for Instagram, making this podcast, everything that I do, I is like squeezed around the 7 to 4
The full-time
full-time
job.
job that I have. So
Yep.
I
Yeah.
yeah.
And that
Yeah,
is
and so
difficult.
like I love that you have such like an amazing vision for yourself and I feel like I'll get there too eventually. But I'm kind of at a crossroads in my life where I need to sort of figure out like which side I want to commit more time to and like
Hmm.
make peace with that. And I've known that this decision was coming for years and I've been putting this off for years. Um but there's so many things that go into that like, you know, making money and being able to like pay your bills is so
Yep.
important
It's very important.
and so there's,
It's
this, that, and the
scary
other.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the only reason why I went into full-time content creation is because I lost my job.
Yeah.
Like I don't know where I would be with content if even like finding now the thing that I actually really love doing with content, which
Yeah.
is the current videos I'm making. I don't know if I'd be there if I hadn't just like straight up lost my job,
Yeah.
right? Thankfully, like my wife had a very stable job because she's technically a first responder, so
Yeah.
like she was still fine. But then it's like if we didn't have that,
Mm.
where
Where would
would
we
I
be?
be?
Yeah.
Like I was literally thrown into the fire, and it's like, Paul, figure it out,
Yeah.
But we had built enough like of a community, like Patreon very much helped, all
Yeah.
that other stuff. So
Yeah.
there were a lot of moving parts.
Absolutely. And I think that that's something that strikes me about people who are really successful with their content. It's either people who have the luxury of not needing the money and like teens,
Hmm.
like young kids who live with their
Oh
parents
yeah.
and who their parents take care of them and everything and they just have
Hmm.
time. Or, people who are already very well off and don't need to worry about, making this kind of hobby into a full-time thing. Those people tend to do really well. Or it's the people who literally have nothing. It's
Hmm.
it's either this or I will
Or not.
starve or
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
And I have met creators on both ends of that spectrum. And it's just really interesting to me. Like the thing that these groups both have in common is just like time. The time to make
Hmm.
stuff without the pressure or with the pressure of money, but like it's that time aspect. And to me, it goes back to like the most valuable thing that I have these days is my time, and where I want
Yep.
to spend it is something I think about very, very, very carefully.